What's going on YouTube? I have a cold steel American Lawman right here. This American Lawman is available still. It is a very popular model, and this knife uses the triad lock system, which cold steel is famous for. And one thing about this triad lock is it is kind of like a lockback system, and I'm sure many of you know this. It's kind of like a modified lockback where they add a stop pin in there. And what that does is not only make the locking mechanism stronger, but when you unlock it, it allows the blade to move a little bit more freely, so you can kind of drop shut it. And it's easier to open as well. It's more flickable than a traditional lockback system, in my experience. And yeah, so let's get on to this video. This is a pretty good EDC kind of choice of a knife, and we'll start out by weighing it. And this is the only kind of color combination you can get for it. It's got a DLC, black DLC, S35VN high saber grind blade. So it is a flat ground, but they leave a little bit on ground at the top there, which makes it a high saber ground, I believe. And yeah, it's got G10 handle scales, triad lock. Let's go ahead and weigh this thing. My personal knife here, the Cold Steel American Lawman, is coming in at 4.24 ounces. So it is not too light. I mean, there's definitely much lighter knives out there. However, I believe like the weight distribution kind of helps it feel a little bit lighter than what it is. Also, it is fairly thin knife. It's not too thick. It doesn't use liners. It's just got the two kind of slabs of G10 and the triad lock, and I believe because it's so broad, it just feels pretty sturdy. There's absolutely no blade wiggle, blade play, no lock rock. This thing is a solid beast right here. It's a little tank is what it is. And very nice knife. The only complaint I really have on it is when you look at the tip that sits in there. I do like, I mean, it's okay. So my complaint is that the tip and the edge kind of rides up pretty high. At least the very tip part of it is riding up high. So if you were to sharpen this a couple times and bring that edge back, the point might start sticking out of there, you know. Basically anywhere from where that fingernail is up, the tip of the blade's going to start sticking out of the handle when it's closed, and I really don't like to see that. You know, this blade kind of does sit out of the material as well from when it's folded in. So these are the things I don't like about this knife, because you know, I like to have my knives when they're folded, I like them to be tucked in nice and tight in there, and I like the tip of the blade to be set deep in the handle so that if I sharpen it a lot, it's not going to start sticking out of the handle material. Now, with that said, S35VN has pretty good wear resistance, and it's going to take a while before that tip is ground up quite a bit to where it's sticking out of the material. You know, it's not a cheap steel. These run for around $100 or so, give or take. They're not made in America. They are made in Taiwan. But yeah, it's a decent knife for $100. The DLC, I will say the DLC is not like a Spyderco DLC. I don't really see it chipping or peeling off. It's just kind of a different reflectiveness. It's more reflective than most DLCs I see that are kind of matte. This is a little bit more reflective and shiny. But yeah, this is all blacked out. Hardware's black. The DLC is black. It's got blacked out triad lock. Everything's black except the edge pretty much, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, this is a nice knife. Does not feel too big. It's fairly thin, and I do like to carry it from time to time. And the triad lock makes it a little more fun than a traditional lockback, because it is more flickable and it is more drop shutty. You can kind of play with it like, you know, like a frame lock or like a axis lock or like a, well, you know, those are two completely different things, but you know what I mean. The blade kind of spins a little bit more free in there, so it is fun to kind of fidget with, play with. But yeah, it's definitely not as smooth as like compression lock. But yeah, I believe it is on phosphor bronze washers. I'm not sure if you can even see them in there, but yeah, definitely moves freely. Centering is pretty good. And actually what I've noticed with some of these cold steels is that they aren't they do kind of move around in there, which I don't like. I like to see, say, here, let's take this PM2 Tonto. It definitely doesn't move around in there like it's secure. And also you can see how deep the tip is in the handle material. And these are two completely different knives. That's definitely not a comparable knife. The Manix 2 is probably more comparable, although this is a very well used Manix 2. It's a very old one. But yeah, you can see it doesn't really move around as much as the Cold Steel. And maybe because this has liners, although that PM2 does have liners, they're not as thick as the Manix 2. But anyways, those are just my thoughts on this knife. It does perform very well. The choil is nice and comfortable, and it's held up. I haven't had any issues with the locking mechanisms or anything like that. So let me know what you think. Thanks. Bye.